The team and I have been discussing about the type of videos that are on our channel. And so far, I think recently you all have been watching a lot of that kind of introducing food of a certain place like Sapporo, Chitose, Karuizawa. Yeah. And we felt that, okay, maybe we would like to have a change. We'd like to go back to the roots, the most popular common Japanese dishes, but something unique, something different, has a unique take to it. Something that will change my life. Yeah. Definitely we'll still do area introduction of food, but we like to focus more on our original intention of the channel, which is someone told us, right? Someone told us a particular place has a very delicious food. So with this concept of food that will change my life, the team got to work and they picked out a really, famous and common Japanese dish, ramen. So they gave me 2 places to go to. I have no idea what they are. They just gave me the address. I'm supposed to go there and find out for myself. Let's see what the team cooked up. Let's go. Really excited what sort of ramen we'll be eating. And that's because ramen is a pretty common dish, right? So let's see what the team has installed for us. Whether we'll be shocked out of our shoes. Okay, I guess this is it. Yeah. Oh! Did I see correctly? It's oyster ramen! Oh my goodness. Okay. This is pretty surprising. Please buy a meal ticket first before lining up. Okay. I guess we are pretty early. There is not much of a queue. Maybe around about 2 or 3 people. Okay. Let's waste no time and get our meal ticket. Ikimasu! Oh my goodness, everybody. What we have right here looks extremely delicious. Ooh, oyster ramen. Now, I'm speaking especially very softly and focused, and that's because I don't want to disrupt the dining experience of the people around me. And obviously, we got permission to film. Itadakimasu. Let me try the broth first. Oh, so thick the broth. Oh my goodness. I've been oystered. Really, the essence of the oyster just floods my mouth and ooh, really, it feels like I'm actually swimming in an actual oyster. Yeah, that's how thick this particular thing is. Look at the broth here. Oh, look at that. So thick. Even though the oyster broth is so thick, and the noodles actually look really thick also, but I don't get tired at all. Somehow the noodle is able to complement the thick broth really well. Just mind-blowing, this combination here. So far I'm really taken aback. Just look at how big the char siu is. Oof. Look at this. Literally is half my bowl, man. Look at that. Char siu is very succulent. Quite a good counter flavor to the overall oyster ramen. I mean, the vibe that I'm getting here in this particular restaurant, it's a very peaceful one, very quiet one, and quite contrary to the bowl of ramen I'm eating here. Because it's very explosive, the flavor, this oyster flavor, so explosive. Not one bit lacking. Throughout each bite, the oyster flavor was strong. It's actually a real huge testament to how thick this particular broth is, the strength, of the oyster flavor. Very fresh, not fishy at all, Oh, the actual oyster itself. But interesting to note that you actually have to order this particular oyster a la carte. Fresh. Great. Oishii. That's all I can say. Talking about ramen, all the common flavors of ramen are things like your pork ramen, right? Tonkotsu. You also have your miso butter ramen, Hokkaido. You check the Sapporo video out. That butter miso ramen was just fabulous. Soy sauce, salt, yeah, shio ramen, common ramen that we usually would see. So this one right here is really unique oyster. I guess the noodle is pretty underrated. We only focus on the oyster flavor, right? But one thing also, besides matching with the oyster broth really well, but the noodle aftertaste also, it's fantastic. It's really smooth. I don't taste any sort of kind of alkaline aftertaste. Interesting, the egg isn't as onsen as what you expect from a regular ramen. But I really want to taste this because what I smelled just now was the egg actually also have oyster smell. Kind of a very unique seafoody saltiness on the outside. But inside is definitely, what you come to expect from an onsen egg. So it could be prepared in oyster broth or whatever the case may be. Yeah, very interesting, very interesting. To help us finish up this fabulous broth, I actually ordered a bucket of oyster rice. And we're gonna put the rice in with the broth as dashi. Maybe I should taste the rice first before the broth. Because the broth is really strong. What happens if the broth literally overpowers the rice? Oh, yeah. There's shisho inside the oyster rice as well. Gives it a refreshing take. But again, the oyster flavor is just strong, guys. Just strong. Ah, subarashi ne, subarashi. Oishii ne, oishii. I almost committed a huge unforced error. Because apparently, I'm not supposed to put the rice into the broth, but rather the broth into this bucket here. Let's go home. Let's go home. Oystered Max. Oystered Max. Too good, just too good. Ah, splendid. Come to think about it, this entire experience, I think oyster matches ramen really well. The thickness, right? Really feels like a kind of tonkotsu kind of feel, the broth. The texture, the thickness, especially a very good tonkotsu ramen. Yeah, I was thinking just now when the ramen came, I was thinking like, it's going to be like seafood, flavor. Yeah, it's there, not so thick. But I was pleasantly surprised that it's completely different from what I thought it will be. Yeah, just awesome, just splendid. What an oyster ramen. Now, I'd like to add one more thing, and I think this is actually pretty important. And that is, the supporting items in that particular oyster ramen plays a very important role. And that is your leeks, your kaiwari radish, your lemon. You notice those are on top of the ramen. Those supporting cast in that ramen made it possible that you will not get tired eating that particular bowl of ramen. They actually refreshes your taste bud that you can keep eating non-stop, right? The oyster. Because the broth is actually really thick. And if you don't have something to refresh your taste bud, after a while it gets pretty tiring, pretty tiresome. Pause. Okay, you got a question, but why do you need to come so close? Move further back. Okay, yes. How many oysters they use in the ramen? How am I supposed to know? Is there a hint or something? I mean, like what? 1,000. Okay. 100,000. Okay. 1 million. Well, I know for sure, definitely not 1,000. I mean, given how thick the broth was, definitely not 1,000. And I think maybe 1 million is too much or too many? 1 million oysters, that's like too many, right? 100,000 seems safer. Okay, 100,000. Wrong. Then what is it? Eh? 1 million? They use 1 million for the ramen. Are you sure? 1 million? Oh, I guess it's very impressive, isn't it? Right? Well, I mean, what do you think, guys? 1 million, 1 million oysters they use since the shop opened last year. They opened in 2024. Oh, okay. Wow, that's a really staggering number, right? 1 million oysters. Wow, very, very impressive. A lot of work has gone into the making of the particular broth. And I guess from, the data and all this from Neko-san, we can see why. Yeah, and I also like to add one more thing. I just remembered, while we're on the way back, I noticed one thing, and that is the aftertaste of the oyster ramen. It doesn't really linger in my mouth. Because I think most of the time when you eat something so heavy in terms of seafood, or even a very strong kind of tonkotsu ramen, very easily the aftertaste can linger in the mouth, and it just fester and all that in the mouth. But this one, no, there is no bitterness that lingers in my mouth. There is no fishiness at all that also lingers in my mouth. No, very, very minimal. And in Japan, they actually term oysters as milk of the sea. And when we actually ate the oyster, we ordered the a la carte, 250 yen. It was really fresh. The oysters are from Hiroshima. And yeah, it doesn't taste, weird whatsoever. It was actually really good, really good. And yeah, it really explains how the aftertaste could be so good, right? Just wonderful bowl of ramen. Honestly, I'm really excited for our second ramen. Now, as to why I'm gonna have this ramen for dinner when I could have actually had it right after the oyster one, is because I was too full. Yeah, so part and parcel of being a YouTuber doing food, stomach restrictions. Yeah, so as I was saying, I can't wait. I have a huge feeling this second place will be equally as explosive. It seems like we came at a wrong time because it's peak hour right now. The queue is just right in front of me. Oh my goodness. "13 people. Ooh. I guess we have to queue probably an hour? Yeah, right. Let's say 13 people multiplied by 5 minutes. That's like 45 minutes. Okay, let's hope this better be good. But actually standing right outside the place right now, I can actually smell a very flavorful, savory kind of scent coming from the shop. Alright guys, I have the menu in my hands right now. Oh, risotto. Am I saying correctly? We're having risotto for dinner. Is this ramen? Oh, this is actually ramen plus risotto. Oh, it's a set. Talk about fusion, guys. Talk about fusion. It's gonna be my first time with such a combo. Look at this. Ooh. Oh my goodness. I thought it was prawns, but it's actually lobster. What? Shocking. Lobster, everyone. I thought it's prawns. My goodness, judging from the name just now. What the? Okay, you're gonna have ravioli and all that. Oh my goodness, this is just insane, man. Lobster cream ramen. Are you seeing this? Nani kore? Oh my goodness. Wow, talk about premium. Whole lobster ramen. 6,000 yen. Look at that. Talk of premium, man. That's almost like $100. Yeah, crazy, crazy. But wow, it looks really yummy though. It looks really, really yummy. The queue is surprisingly moving quicker than I expected. It's just only about 8 people in front of me. This is the place, yeah. Ebimaru Ramen. This has to be the most ambitious ramen meal that I've ever eaten. You actually get to start with a small cup of prawn bis as appetizer. Yep, we're about to get our minds blown. Solid prawn tasting, perfect way to open and prepare our appetite for what's to come. Bro, look at the bowl of ramen. I'm pretty certain this is one of the most, if not the most sophisticated ramen you ever see. You actually have a piece of baguette with cream cheese for your ramen broth. Everyone, this is the real definition of what fusion means. This lobster broth actually made me question, am I eating ramen? Because it's so unique. On one hand, your brain is telling you you're eating ramen, and what you're drinking is ramen broth. But it actually has enough thickness and creaminess that it tastes like a lobster bisque as well. Extraordinary! This is the first time in my life I had such a ramen broth. The taste was very good. The lobster taste was very pronounced and depthful. And the noodles? They complement exceptionally well with the broth. It is not as thick or heavy like the oyster ramen I had earlier. Mild flavoured, but I guess very understandable given the nature of the lobster ramen broth. Overall, it has enough mochiness for a delightful chew. Besides being very delicious, the overall package, I have to say, this also has got to be one of the most fun ramen experience I ever had. Every mouth of the lobster broth and ramen noodle I took, the signature lobster sweetness, creamy texture from the broth, and the very complimentary noodles brought out such a different take to the ramen game that it almost felt wild and game-changing. Now, if you think we are almost at the end of this changing my life ramen rabbit hole, you couldn't be more wrong. The whole experience so far has been so next level that I almost forgotten about a risotto set that we ordered. Usually we have rice or some flavoured version of it to mix with the ramen broth as dashi to end off. But here, for the very first time ever in my entire ramen eat history, we have risotto. Yep, you heard that right, risotto. Probably the most eye-popping and catching thing of this ramen journey. Hot plate, egg yolk, shrimp, rice and lobster bisque. Pretty certain you watching this would also be very astonished at the sight of this. Extremely creative and unheard of. Would you just look at that insane thing? Immediately you know this is gonna be max delicious, and it did not disappoint one bit. I'll go as far as to say that this risotto takes this entire ramen experience way over the top. If you ever tell me one day I'll be eating a lobster ramen, and in that same sitting a lobster-esque risotto, I would have told you you're out of your mind. But here we are today. A wild, mad and raging rush of flavour filled my mouth that made me instinctively marvel at the richness and seafood goodness that I just tasted. Simply sensational. The grated cheese worked marvels with the lobster bisque. Seriously, just completing the entire flavour package with the iconic savoury cheesiness. And then, coupled with the egginess from the yolk, mixing together with the rice and sealing the deal with the prawns, are you insane? This is truly next level. What an unbelievable experience. Oh my goodness. What a way to wrap up this particular episode there. I never had a doubt that the second one will be as explosive as the first one, because after all, you know, it cannot be like the first one is good but the second one is not as good. So definitely the lobster ramen is just fabulous. One advice for those who's going to visit the lobster ramen, Ebimaru, and that is try to go on an empty stomach. If you were to go there like partially full or maybe even just a little hungry, trust me, you will not be able to finish. And that's because the soup is really thick and the amount of noodles they gave is actually quite a bit. And the noodle is actually very thick itself. So overall you'll be quite full. You'll be quite full. Definitely go for the set. The risotto is perfect and just extremely delicious. I mean, they could actually just set up a risotto restaurant and it would sell perfectly well as well. Alright there, so this is where we end off. Hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for watching.